you could ever experience in the life of the church. Listen to what the Apostle Paul said in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 20. Listen to what he says. He says, "For I fear that perhaps when I come, I may find you not as I wish, and that you may find me not as you wish, that perhaps there may be," here it is, the sin specifically targeted, "that there may be quarreling, jealousy, anger, hostility, slander, gossip, conceit, and disorder in the fellowship." And so he strategically named all of these literally 8 sins that was happening in the fellowship because he got it from Chloe's house. And he was saying that, how can you have church and worship by hurting the heart of God with your behavior? See, they were hurting one another in the fellowship, but at the same time, they wanted to convey that they were a spiritual institution that God was using. And the Apostle Paul came right in and targeted the behavior that was going on. Some of those in the Corinthian church would put it this way: all of us have sinned. None of us are perfect. We all have some issue in our life that we're trying to work through. So none of us are perfect. That is an excellent, and that is a true statement. But that is not an excuse for your behavior. Let me repeat that once again. Although that is an excellent statement and it is a true statement, anytime you use that statement to justify behavior that don't honor God, then you are taking the grace of God and you are dragging it into a license, and it's becoming something that God never intended it to be. Amen. I'm saying the struggle is this, is that we use the grace of God on other people. But be careful when you embrace the grace of God to cover and justify when you always or live in sin, that you're making excuses for it. See, and that's the difference. The difference is, I will extend the grace of God for you quicker than I can for myself. That's why the Apostle Paul in chapter 13 used the word perfection. He's knowing that none of us can live perfect in this life, but we reach for it. We reach for it. We reach for the perfection of God. We reach for the power of God. We reach for God to use us. You say, "Well, Pastor, wait a minute. I love being a part of a fellowship that's just so filled with the grace of God and the forgiveness of God that we forgive everybody." Well, let me give you an example. What if you spent the last 40 minutes in the service listening to the pastor, and all of a sudden you went out into the parking lot and you found out that a teenager from a church member just busted the window in your car and drove off with your car, and you're standing there stupefied that another church member's child will do that to your car? And then you get somebody that's saturated in grace and come next to you and say, "All have sinned. None of us are perfect." You know what? You got to understand, God could be using this to teach you a lesson. You see the problem when you take grace and you extend it too far out? When you know you're standing there thinking about your car and the window is broken out and you can't wait to call the police and see justice demonstrated or illustrated in that person's life. And there's nothing wrong with that. So if we can say, I want justice for someone who broke my window and stole my car, what's wrong with God wanting justice from his people who've been called to live righteous and to live holy? So the Apostle Paul said, don't make me come in there. Don't make me come in there. Listen to how he puts it. In verse 1, he says, "This is the 3rd time I am coming to you." What that sounds like. This is the 3rd time that I'm coming to you. You remember, I don't know about you, did your mama used to say, some of them say, 3 strikes and you're out. I'm going to warn you. I'll warn you again. But that third time, I'm not even counting the three. But that third time, I'm coming in there. Anybody know what I'm talking about?